Gen 1 has the best Pokemon. On a real note, Gen 1 is greatly beloved for giving this amazing franchise its start, but it's been made clear that Game Freak has been engineering Pokemon in the lab lately to perform better competitively. This has been leaving some of our most favorite Pokemon left in the dust. Or has it? In this run, we're taking on an increased difficulty hack of Pokemon Violet and we're only allowed to use Gen 1 Pokemon. And we're going to need to showcase their skills in a variety of ways because in a Nuzlocke, if a Pokemon faints, they're gone forever. Check out the description for a list of my rule set and let's let this run begin. So like any game, the professor comes over to roast my mom.
Man, I just gave your mom a piggyback ride and she weighs twice as much as I.
And then he tries to make up for it by offering us these disgusting Gen 9 Pokemon. Blah. But instead, we find the real best starter to choose from, Bulbasaur. And just like he saved Hyrule, Link is going to be here to save this run. And just like that, Link pulverizes Nemona's Quaxly with 2 Vine Whips to end the first fight. But the first real battle is with Arven, and Link wants to answer the age-old question of which of the 3 Kanto starters is the best starter. And I think our newly found Squirtle was getting a bit jealous of the attention that he wasn't getting. But anyways, a few Vine Whips took out Knackley, but not before he dropped my speed with a Mud Shot. It's kind of unfortunate since that makes us attack second against his Capsakid, but it doesn't really matter because he's literally doing like what, 2 damage? So Capsakid goes down soon enough, and Arven didn't take this loss all that well and was pretty mean to Squirtle afterwards.
Water sucks!
Bulbasaur.
Better. What?
So we're going to call him Ganon from now on because something tells me that he might want to lead this run in KOs. So we go out to find new teammates to add to the squad, and the most important one is Igglybuff, which just so happens to be a friendship evolution, which means that if I want to get a Jigglypuff, I need to do a few things in order to increase her friendship. And it might be a little unconventional, but I take her out mini golfing, I tuck her into bed at night, and I may have even given her the people's elbow at one point, but even then she evolves into a somewhat more usable Pokemon. The base stat improvement is pretty marginal at this point, but it does seem to come in handy at this next fight. So we continue further and are just trying to get into school, but Nemona is waiting for us with quite the scary team, to be honest, and this is where we really feel the difficulty pick up. So she leads Quaxly and Link takes center stage again, but Quaxly isn't really the problem, although he does make things a bit more annoying by lowering our attack with a couple of growls. But Link clutches up and gets the critical hit with a Razor Leaf to bypass these attack drops and gets his first KO of the match. So now Dunsparce comes out, and since our attack is halved, we opt for Leech Seed to whittle down his health and stay relatively healthy. And of course, we come prepared with a Cherry Berry to shake off the first glare. I guess we must have been speed tied because Dunsparce attacks first this turn and gets to use Glare, which immediately pays off as Bulbasaur gets fully paralyzed. But at least we're still whittling down the Chubby Snake's HP with Leech Seed every turn. But now Dunsparce uses Rollout, and if you've watched my previous video, you know how dangerous this move can get. And Link can't do much damage since Quaxly used Growl so many times. But thank goodness Dunsparce misses his second rollout so things don't get too far out of hand. And with his HP dropping low, he starts going for desperation tactics and uses Mud Slap to lower our accuracy. But Link insists on landing a Vine Whip for like 2 damage. There you go, Link. Show him why you're the favorite. So now Dunsparce uses a move I didn't even know he had, Flail. And this move is especially dangerous because it increases in power the less HP the user has. And with Dunsparce HP being so low, yeah, it's gonna do quite a bit. I really don't want to lose my starter, so I send in a more expendable Pokemon instead who almost gets one shot upon entry. But the good news is, Arrow gets to see another day by recovering with an Orange Berry and Leech Seed recovery, which is enough to take out Dunsparce. Yep, that's a KO for Link. So now Rockruff is out next and
he falls into my Jiggly trap.
Jigglypuff has the ability Competitive, which means that anytime a stat gets lowered, her special attack will increase by 2 stages, effectively doubling it. Now, admittedly, that's not saying much with the base stat of 45, but at least that means she gets the 2-shot with Disarming Voice rather than a 4-shot. So Rockruff uses Double Team in State of Panic, but I guess he didn't realize that Disarming Voice could never miss. So with Rockruff down, that leaves Nemona with her final Pokemon, Palmy. Now, I don't think that Arrow can take any attacks from this thing, so I make the hard switch into Bulbasaur, and good thing too, because a crit would have definitely knocked her out. So now Palmy goes for a useless charge and we go for our tried and true strategy, Leech Seed. This keeps us healthy for the next couple of turns, and we actually get lucky because we don't get fully parried at all. And because Grass resists electric, unlike some other starter that shall not be named, this means we're able to take out Palmy with a few Vine Whips and actually enroll in school. Nice try, Nemona, maybe you'll have better luck next time. But for now, we meet up with Arven to learn about the Titans, Nemona for the gym leaders, and Cassiopeia for the team star leaders. And I get this odd feeling that something is going on between the professor and the director.
That'll begin.
Are you prepared to ping the Pong?
Your Pong is no match for my ping.
Can't put my finger on it. So we go out to the main lobby and are informed by both Miss Briar and Professor Serrano that in order to call this Nuzlocke complete, we need to include each DLC, the Teal Mask and the Indigo Disc. That means we need to take down the Loyal 3 and defeat Kieran as champion with only our Gen 1 Pokemon. But before all that, we need to face Katy, the Bug-type specialist, so we take to Kitakami to catch ourselves a Geodude who we break the nickname theme for because, I mean, come on, how could you not at this point? And he conveniently evolves before the next level cap too. And then we find the second piece to our puzzle, Rhyhorn, who we name Hylia. And she actually starts off the battle against Katy's Venonat. We're equipped with a Person Berry to shake off Venonat's Supersonic so we can use a Scary Face to lower Venonat's speed. This allows us to outspeed the next turn and ensure we're able to set up Stealth Rock. More on this later, but this is going to give us a massive advantage against Katy's bug types. Venonat's Supersonic connects again, but this time the confusion is actually going to stick. But it doesn't really matter since Hylia did what she needed to do in this battle, and we get a somewhat free switch into a Gentle Dude who takes a Psybeam on the switch. We use Rock Polish on our first turn to ensure that we outspeed the rest of Katy's team, and again have a Person Berry to shake off Venonat's confusion. And this is where we get extremely lucky. I definitely thought that a stab super effective rollout was going to be more than enough to KO a not fully evolved Pokemon coming off a base attack of 95, but we barely even do half. And Venonat uses Supersonic, and because we already used our Person Berry, we have to deal with Confusion chance for the rest of the battle since we're locked into rollout. Confusion has a 33% chance to damage yourself instead of your opponent, and luckily we get to use the rollout on our next turn. We get the KO especially since rollout doubles in power every successful hit. And now Masquerain comes out, and as you can see it takes a massive amount of damage from Stealth Rock. And even through Intimidate, a stab quad effective base 120 power rollout is more than enough to take out half of Masquerain's health. And the same can be said for Vespiquen after Stealth Rock chip and a 240 base power rollout now. Teddiursa comes in and helps us out by Terastalizing into a bug type, but I still don't think he would have survived a 480 base power rollout even if he stayed a normal type. By the way, the odds of hitting through Confusion, snapping out of Confusion on the first possible turn, and hitting all 5 rollouts in a row were just 9.7%. Hopefully that's not the same percent chance of you subscribing to the channel, huh? But anyways, our next challenge is Klawf, so we need to add a few upgrades to the team. We first start by adding Growlithe and Vulpix to the team before immediately evolving both of them with a Firestone. We also evolve Link into Ivysaur and we're all ready to go. Yep, we're taking 2 Fire-type Pokemon to face off against a Rock-type Pokemon because Ivysaur.
Not only quenches your thirst better, it tastes better too, idiot.
You're drinking the wrong water.
So the battle begins and we send out Impa, who has the Drought ability to set up the Sunlight. This not only weakens the Crab's Crab Hammer, but it also helps in the second phase of the battle too. Our first priority is to burn Klawf with the Will-O-Wisp. Not only does this do a little damage at the end of each turn, but this also cuts his damage output in half. Just look at how easily we take a Stone Edge. Impa's work here is done, so we switch into Goron to use an Intimidate, which weakens his attack even further, and we take a fairly soft Stone Edge on the switch. This allows us to stay in for 1 extra turn to get off a double kick, but Klawf lands another Stone Edge. Landing 3 Stone Edges in a row is only a 51% chance, but I guess I can't complain too much based on how lucky I got last fight. Because of this damage, we need to switch to Link, who takes a Vice Grip for some pretty pitiful damage, and then Link ends the first phase with a Giga Drain. After Klawf inhales some PEDs, the second phase starts off pretty much the same way. We use a Will-O-Wisp to cut his damage output in half, but we use a Nasty Plot on the second turn to double our special attack, while Arven's Dollop just continues to take damage for us. Thanks buddy, you're a real pal. This allows us to pass our special attack boost to Link, who is now going to do some pretty incredible damage. We're able to outspeed the Titan even after his stat boost because the Sunlight boosts Link's speed thanks to his Chlorophyll ability. So we're able to almost one-shot the Titan in a single Giga Drain and get all of our health back. This does activate his Anger Shell ability, which can get pretty scary because both his attack stats and speed gets doubled, but with the burn in place, this only really gets him back to neutral. This also activates Ivysaur's Trap card. Ivysaur is holding the Mirror Herb, which means that Link can copy all of Klawf's stat boost but none of his defense drops. And because of this allows us to outspeed yet again, and we're completely safe to end the first Titan fight with one last Giga Drain. Ivysaur, I'm so glad I had you for this fight, not some other mediocre Pokemon that couldn't have done nearly as good as you. So anyways, our next stop is the Grass-type leader, Brassius, and I'm trying to showcase all different kinds of Pokemon in this run. So we go on to catch M&J TV's favorite Pokemon and evolve into one of the creepiest Pokemon ever. Have you read his Pokedex entry? And then we catch a Bellsprout and evolve him twice into Victory Bell. And last but not least, we complete the Team Rocket's Poison-type Pokemon and we make our way back to suck off Brassius.
Hey, get off me! Stop! No!
So he begins the battle with a Jumpluff and I with Hypno. I thought I had come up with this really cool strategy for this fight, but it didn't really go like I planned it. But he begins by setting up a Tailwind and I use Switcheroo. Switcheroo is a move that switches the held items with your target, so I end up giving him the Choice Band. The Choice Band does raise your attack by one stage, but it also locks you into one single move until you switch out of battle. So I thought he would be stuck using a Tailwind over and over again, but I guess it doesn't take effect until you actually use a move while holding the item. So instead he locks himself into Mega Drain. But this is also fine since my strategy is to switch to Koga to set up a layer of Toxic Spikes. Now that the Toxic Spikes are up, we switch to the real sweeper of this fight, the Deku Princess. And Jumpluff is stuck using a quad resisted Mega Drain. We set up a Sunny Day to activate our Chlorophyll ability, and this also allows Growth to boost both of our attack stats by 2 stages instead of just 1. Now because of this, we're able to outspeed and use a Stab super effective Venoshock for the 1-hit KO. Now Brambleghast comes in and gets poisoned by the Toxic Spikes that were set up from earlier. And because the sun's set up, we're able to outspeed and use Knockoff for the instant 1-hit KO. Breloom comes out and also gets poisoned from the Toxic Spikes, and this allows the Deku Princess to use Venoshock, which doubles in power when used on a Pokemon that's already poisoned, and gets yet another 1-hit KO. The sunlight does fade this turn, but it doesn't really matter because even after Terastalization, we outspeed his Sudowoodo naturally anyways. And he did pick a pretty bad type to Terastalize into, and has some really poor special defense, so this was a little overkill. Okay, yeah, I know you want to do it, go ahead. Okay, so according to the level cap, the next battle is actually with the Loyal 3, Munkidori, Okidogi, and Fezandipiti. These fights are especially difficult because all 3 of these Pokemon can poison you with their ability Toxic Chain, which if you don't know has a 30% chance to badly poison you whenever you get hit with a move. So I need to come prepared to deal with poison somehow, some way. And they get a boost to one of their stats to begin every battle. And Munkidori gets a special defense boost to start off our battle with him. And we lead with Pikachu, who is holding a Light Ball, which doubles both his physical and special attack stats. We use Fake Out on the first turn to do some chip damage, but also make sure that he flinches for the first turn. And then we use a boosted Volt Switch to go out into Magneton, who resists or is immune to both of Munkidori's typings. We make it a priority to paralyze the Titan to be able to outspeed and try to fully paralyze him for a few turns. But he is a bit harder to deal with because he doesn't really have any weaknesses that we can exploit. The Kanto Dex doesn't have any dark types for whatever reason, and the only ghost type that we have is also weak to one of Munkidori's stabs, and that makes it too risky to be using in this fight. And although we have a few ground types, their special bulk isn't exactly what I like to consider bulky, so we just have to rely on Magneton to whittle him down. We start off by using a couple of Flash Cannons to fish for a special defense drop, but he used Spite on us twice, so we ran out of Flash Cannon PP. But that's okay because on the very next turn he gets fully paralyzed, and then on the turn after that, Kuko gets a critical hit Thunderbolt to end the fight. With Munkidori down, it's time to take on Okidogi. Okidogi is especially scary because he has a base attack stat of 128. Not to mention his monstrous defense of 115 just gets boosted even further at the start of the battle. We start off with the tried and true strategy of Fake Out with Pikachu followed by a Light Ball boosted Volt Switch. This allows us to send in Arcanine, who gets off an Oh, that's weird. I guess I got the wrong ability, but anyways, we need to butcher his attack a different way, so we use Will-O-Wisp, which fortunately connects, and this pays off immediately since we get hit with a much softer low kick. I feel pretty confident staying in, so we use Psychic Fangs, which does a disappointing amount of damage. Now I'm thinking that I need to lower his attack even further, so I use Charm to lower his attack another 2 stages. And finally, Okidogi uses Brutal Swing, which does proc his Toxic Chain ability, but of course you know we came prepared with a Pecha Berry. But using Brutal Swing procs our ability Justified, which gives Arcanine an attack boost every time he's hit with a dark type move. I did think that this ability would proc more, being that Okidogi has 2 dark type moves to choose from, and it really would have helped out our damage output. And I know that he got a defense boost to begin this battle, but Psychic Fangs is quite effective against Okidogi, so it's surprising that he was able to take 5 Psychic Fangs along with all of Gliscor's attacks before he actually went down. So that's 2 of the Loyal 3 members down and just Fezandipiti to go. Fezandipiti is undoubtedly the bulkiest of the 3, but those attack stats aren't anything to write home about, and we're definitely going to be taking advantage of it. As is tradition at this point, I send out Pikachu as Carmine sends out Gliscor, and I use the same old fake out strategy as Gliscor sets up Tailwind. I Volt Switch into Arcanine, who takes a not very effective Dazzling Gleam on the switch, which is not really a big deal. But what is a big deal is that we get poisoned on the very next turn. We do have a Pecha Berry, but we've already burned it and we haven't even gotten an attack off. Luckily, the Will-O-Wisp does connect, so this pigeon thing's attacks are going to do much less damage. Goron's next job is to butcher this thing's special attack, so we use Snarl, which has that exact secondary effect. With her special attack lower, the Dazzling Gleam is doing noticeably less damage, but it's still enough to take out Gliscor. And poison Goron again. Great, but at least we're able to get off another Snarl for a second special attack drop. But because we're poisoned, I don't feel safe staying in anymore, so Skull Kid finally makes his debut and takes a quad resisted poison jab on the switch. On the next turn we get hit with a wing attack, but with the burn having Fezandipiti's attack and Haunter holding the Eviolite, it's not really doing too much to us. And Haunter gets to go for a Hex, which is normally a 65 base power move, but because Fezandipiti has a status condition, it is now a base 130 attack before factoring in stab. Just wish it looked like it was that strong. And since this bird thing can't really do much damage, it's just a matter of time before Skull Kid picks up his first KO of the run. With the Loyal 3 now taken care of, the last battle in Kitakami is to prove my worthiness to Ogerpon. But before all that, we need to avoid taking some balls to the face as we make our way to the Titan Bombirdier. And let me just say this real quick, I prepped for this battle. I evolved Clefairy and Jigglypuff with the Moonstone. I caught an Electabuzz, I trained the group to the level cap, and even though I did all of that, Pikachu just soloed the Titan. He ended the first phase in 2 turns with a Fake Out and Volt Switch, and the second phase was done in 3 turns. We did go for a Nuzzle on the second turn to potentially get a Paralysis, and it immediately paid off. But I guess that's plot armor for you. But just shows how impactful a Light Ball can be for Pikachu. If only his defenses didn't suck so bad. I guess he is still pretty cute though. Hey, we haven't checked on Ganon in a while. Is he okay?
Who do they think they are? You think they can just fire me like that? Like trash? I don't think so.
Okay, clearly not well, but we have our first team star leader Giacomo to take care of, and he has a full team plus a Starmobile with the added Steel type. So we had to go find some of Gen 1's finest fighting types for this battle. That's right, Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan. With Hitmonchan's Iron Fist ability boosting his punching moves and Hitmonlee's extremely powerful high jump kicks, there was no way Giacomo and his dark type stood a chance against us. His first Pokemon is Pawniard, who is quad weak to fighting, so he goes down with a single Drain Punch. But his next Pokemon does make things a bit trickier. Crocrock's Intimidate ability lowers our attack, so we only do 66% of the damage we normally would do. However, as you can see from the calc on the screen, and the fact that Crocrock has the pitiful defense of 45, we still get the one shot. Now Morgryn comes out, whose fairy typing allows him to take neutral hits. He survives, but wastes his turn using a false surrender, which we resist. You kind of think the purpose of having a fairy type is to counter the fighting type Pokemon you're weak to, but anyway, Zorua comes out and just looks like he needs to be kicked in the face, so I get Ravio out there who takes a knockoff on the switch. I guess I probably should have seen this coming, just not held anything with Ravio to take less damage, but oh well. So we outspeed the next turn and take the KO with a stab super effective Brick Break. And now Giacomo sends out his giant car, which does kind of look like cheating to me, and he also has the ability to Intimidate. And this is why I wanted to get the Knuckle Master out of there when I did, because if we would have taken 2 Intimidates, we would have only been doing half our normal damage output. But since we come out with our full attack power with no Intimidates, we watch Revavroom set up a Shift Gear, which raises their attack by 1 stage and his speed set by 2 stages. But
He falls into my jiggly trap.
I guess the Knuckle Master isn't that jiggly, but he is holding the mirror. Yup, I'm using that strat again. And in case you forgot, this lets you take your opponent's stat boost. So Hitmonchan also gets a +1 boost to his attack and a +2 boost to his speed. So this means that after Revavroom tries to set up again, the Knuckle Master can put his name where his fists are and get the one shot with the stab quad effective
Falcon Punch!
It always feels so good to have your plan work flawlessly. The team is really starting to come together. They're cohesive, working off each other's weaknesses, and there are no outcasts. That's what I'm most proud of.
Moron! Dude! Look at me! I'm the one with waterboard, dude! I got a wooden spoon, dude!
I will say that this run seems to really be taunting Ganon. There haven't been many battles where water would be any good, and Ogerpon seems to be rubbing it in.
Water sucks. It really sucks.
Okay, so Ogerpon is the last opponent in Kitakami, but it's all 4 forms of Ogerpon. Each form gets to Terastalize, get a specific stat boost, and oh yeah, this legendary Titan also has their HP doubled. And to top it all off, we don't get to heal between any of these phases. So the battle begins and I send out Impa as Ogerpon chooses a fire form first. She gets an attack boost before we even begin, and I get jealous and go for a nasty plot to raise my special attack by 2 stages. Ogerpon is a bit careless and uses a fire type Ivy Cudgel into my Flash Fire ability. This ability fires fires up my next fire type move, but more importantly grants us an immunity to fire. I'm pretty sure that Ogerpon only has Ivy Cudgel as an attacking option because she only uses growth as I set up more nasty plots. After I get all set up, I can confidently KO the first phase of Ogerpon with the Scorching Sands. Now Ogerpon is wearing the Wellspring Mask and gets a special defense boost to begin the second phase. The first thing we do is set up Sunny Day, which will actually last 8 turns since we're holding the Heat Rock. We need to do this to weaken any water type moves from this phase, but also for a very specific reason later. Ogerpon sets up growth, which is a bit scary considering that this boosts both of our attack stats by 2 stages in the sun instead of just 1. But there's nothing we can do except execute our plan, so we use Baton Pass to pass our special attack boost to Link, the now fully evolved Venusaur. We get to switch in on a +2 resisted Ivy Cudgel in the sun, which doesn't do too much damage. With a type advantage now, we can launch a stab, super effective 1-turn Solar Beam boosted by the Expert Belt for the 1-hit KO. So now Ogerpon terastalizes into the rock type and gets a defense boost. And I was concerned at first since I thought that Ogerpon gets the sturdy ability with the Cornerstone Mask, but I guess she loses that ability upon terastalizing. So with the sun still up, we can do the same thing we did last turn and still get the 1-hit KO. Okay, now this phase is the reason why we needed to get Venusaur out there with the sun up. When Ogerpon terastalizes to the grass type, she gets a speed boost, which would normally outspeed Link, but with the sun still up and Link's chlorophyll ability active,
Photosynthesis.
he can launch a stab, super effective Expert Belt boosted Sludge Bomb to get the third 1-hit KO of the fight. Now that we finished Kitakami, the next thing on the list is to make our way to Kaskarafa and battle Nemona. And you'd be surprised to know that Ganon actually pulled me aside and asked if he could take on the next fight all by himself. I was a bit hesitant at first, but I could feel the stress that was building inside of him. But never did I expect what happened next. You see, at level 35, Ganon learned the move Shell Smash, and this really went to his head. For those of you that don't know, Shell Smash is a move that doubles your Pokemon speed and doubles both of its attacking stats. Oh yeah, and it sheds a little weight too, which isn't the greatest because you do get a -1 to each of your defense stats, but if you hold a Wide Herb, this can be reversed. So finally knowing his worth, he just didn't take anything from anyone anymore, and he took it all out on Nemona's team. Lycanroc is the first victim, and after he sets up a pointless howl, Ganon uses Shell Smash in the Wide Herb combination I was telling you about earlier. And then he absolutely demolished Nemona's team.
Stop making fun of me.
Ganon literally one-shot every single one of Nemona's Pokemon. Let's see if the rest of the team is impressed. Guess not. So with Nemona taken care of, the third gym leader is actually Kofu in this game, and with an effort to showcase the 3 Kanto starters in a row, this is the strategy I came up with. So I knew I wanted to set up the sun and try to use Charizard for 1-turn Solar Beams, but Kofu's Slowking makes that a tad difficult since he can put us to sleep with Yawn. So first I sent Impa in to set the sun up with her ability Drought, and then use the negative priority move Roar to get Slowking out of there. She did take a Yawn and is going to fall asleep next turn, but it doesn't really matter since I planned in to switch into Charizard next turn anyways. The only real risk we take here is if Qwilfish uses Barbarage because it has a 50% chance to poison us, and if it poisons us, we'd have to steer a little bit. But he just throws and uses Swords Dance, which is kind of silly because he thinks he's gonna live long enough to actually be able to use the boost. But with the sun up, Charizard holding the Choice Specs, and her Solar Power ability boosting her special attack even further, Zelda is able to get the 1-hit KO on every single Pokemon. So Zelda's holding the Choice Specs, which increases the holder's special attack by 150% at the expense of only being able to use one move. But in this fight, it's totally fine since it's the only move I want to use anyways. And Solar Power is Charizard's hidden ability, and this means that her special attack is boosted by another 150% when the sun is up, at the expense of a little bit of HP every turn. But this means that Zelda is launching Solar Beams with a 270 base power. And since we outspeed every single one of Kofu's Pokemon, the little bit of chip damage doesn't even matter anyways. But things would have definitely got a little dicey if we did get poisoned. Pretty cool to use all 3 Kanto starters in a row like that and have them pull off a clean sweep. So after Kofu, the next fight in our run is against Mela, the Team Star Fire Leader, and I needed to catch a new teammate for this one. With Legend ZA on the way, I guess the only appropriate next Pokemon to showcase is Gyarados. But not just any Gyarados, the shiny red Gyarados. By the way, have you ever seen shiny Mega Gyarados? It's amazing honestly, but anyways, Mela wants to show me hers if I show her mine.
What?
I mean, she threw out her turtle, so I threw out my turtle, and I guess it was love at first sight? Wow, Blastoise, I didn't know you felt that way. So he tries to impress her Torkoal by dancing to make it rain. Seemingly unimpressed, she uses Iron Defense to fend off my horny little turtle. Ganon knows when to call it quits, so he uses Flip Turn to give Torkoal a little slap, and this allows us to pivot into Sheik. Torkoal now goes on the offense with a resisted flamethrower in the rain. Would have been kind of scary if that burned, but Sheik is wearing the covert cloak to prevent any secondary effects. So now Sheik uses a stab rain boosted waterfall to do big damage to Torkoal. I did think that would do more with Gyarados' monstrous attack stat, but I guess Torkoal does have some pretty impressive defense, and did just set up with Iron Defense. It doesn't matter too much though, because she actually wastes her turn by failing a substitute because there wasn't enough HP left. And on the next turn, not only does Sheik finish her off with another waterfall, but this also procs her Moxie ability where she gets a +1 boost to her attack for every KO that she takes. So when Larvesta comes out and goes right back out to a +1 stab rain boosted waterfall, we get another Moxie boost and now have doubled our attack. Delphox comes in and does outspeed, but sets up a useless light screen to increase her team's special defense. But since Sheik is a physical attacker, we get another one-hit KO and another Moxie boost. The second to last Pokemon is Talonflame and uses Tailwind to get an even bigger speed advantage, I guess. So we get another one-hit KO with a now +3 waterfall on the rain. For whatever reason, we didn't get the Moxie boost on this turn as Revavroom comes out, but I guess it doesn't matter too much because Mela wastes her one and only chance to do any damage by going for a Screech. And then Sheik retaliates with a +3 quad effective Earthquake for the one-hit KO. When people say Gyarados is a monster in playthroughs, I totally believe it and can't wait to use this Mega Evolution in Legend ZA. So now that Mela is defeated, the easy part of this run is over, because in this game, the next 4 gym leaders are going to be double battles. And the first double battle is with Iono, and this fight has to be my favorite of the entire run. It's the most Gen 1 thing you'll ever see. The reason I say that is because this strategy is going to revolve around our newly evolved Rhydon, which I heard is the first Pokemon ever created. Just look at this glow up. But we're not going to be using Rhydon like you might think. No, we're not using its physical attack, we're going to be using its far worse special attack. You see, when I planned this run, I thought, what would scream Gen 1 more than having the first ever Pokemon created using the classic move Hyper Beam to KO the opposing gym leader's ace? So here's how I did it. To start the battle, I actually led with Rivali the Electabuzz and Mipha the Scyther. Scyther is holding the expert belt to guarantee the KO on Raichu with a U-turn to bring out Hylia. This prevented the Raichu from outspeeding and potentially getting the one-shot with the Psychic. And Electabuzz uses Discharge to not only give Rhydon her first special attack boost, but to also do a little chip damage onto Bellibolt. Oh yeah, that's how we plan on boosting her. She has the ability Lightning Rod, which not only makes her immune, but draws in all electric type moves and gets a special attack boost. So this allows her to get another special attack boost when Bellibolt tries to use a Parabolic Charge. She's like a sucking machine. Now Iono sends out her Ampharos, and she actually baited me. I tried to use an Earth Power on Ampharos, but completely missed because she swapped him out for Kilowattrel, who's immune with the Flying type. And then Electabuzz used Follow Me, and Bellibolt just makes him wet.
Daddy, chill.
Iono switching actually works in my favor because the worst Kilowattrel can do is a resisted Air Slash, and I planned a Meteor Beam Power Herb combo to not only boost my special attack for the 3rd time, but to also get the one-hit KO on Kilowattrel. For those of you that don't know, Meteor Beam is usually a 2-turn move where the user doesn't move the first turn, but gets a special attack boost, and then gets to attack with a 120 base power move on the 2nd turn. But holding the Power Herb allows this to happen in just 1 turn. I did try to use a Volt Switch on Bellibolt, thinking it would give Hylia a special attack boost and I could switch out, but I guess the special attack boost ruined the secondary effect? I don't know, but Electabuzz is still here somehow, and Bellibolt uses Charge to raise its special defense. So Ampharos comes back out, and because Hylia is +4, Electabuzz can use a Follow Me to prevent any confusion shenanigans. And this allows Hylia to take her 2nd KO of the match with an Earth Power. So now Bellibolt gets a +2 with a 2nd charge, which isn't the greatest because we actually have a special attacking strategy. But now Iono sends out her Ace Mismagius, and since I can't Volt Switch out, I Hard Switch Pikachu in. And after Mismagius terastalizes, she uses Wonder Room, which is a huge blunder. The move Wonder Room switches the defense and special defense stats of everyone on the field, and her partner just got to +2 special defense, and Mismagius, you yourself are also quite the specially defensive Pokemon as well, but now they are both vulnerable to my +4 special attacking rampaging Rhydon. So on the next turn has to fix out the Mismagius, and then Hylia gets another KO on Bellibolt. And on the last turn, Pikachu supercharges his ally with a Thunderbolt so that he can unleash a +5 Hyper Beam for the one-hit KO. I've had so much fun taking these Gen 1 Pokemon for a run, and this is only part 1. So do me a favor and subscribe if you want to see part 2, and let me know in the comments if you prefer a series or longer videos, and let me know who you think is going to have the most KOs at the end of the series.